So what we have here is the preparing for the ACT 23-24 test. Hopefully they don't pull it because, I'm using ACT's content, but whatever. The numbers 1 through 15 were each written on an individual piece of paper, one number per piece. Then the 15 pieces of paper were put in a jar. One piece of paper will be drawn from the jar at random. What is the probability of drawing a piece of paper with a number less than 9 written on it? So there should be 8 pieces of paper with a number less than 9. Okay, so that's 8 pieces out of what, 15? It's a pretty simple question. I would love to see the statistics on the number of kids who missed that question. I'd love to see it. It's higher than I think anybody wants to admit. And by the way, when I do this video, I'm not necessarily going to be doing algebra, even though I'm an algebra teacher. I'll be doing whatever gets the right answer. Which of the following expressions is equivalent to negative 4x cubed minus 12x cubed plus 9x squared? And this is a like terms thing. You have a lot of kids take the ACT who just struggle with math. And like they haven't figured out that they can just do like negative 4 minus 12 in a calculator. I mean, if you don't know what negative 4 minus 12 is, you just push buttons. But anyways, I'm going to be looking for negative 16 of these cubes right there. And again, I would love to see the statistic on the number of kids who missed that question. When x is 2, 10 plus 3 times 12 divided by 3x is equal to what? Now, I'm just, like I said, I'm not trying to teach algebra here. I'm going to take a 2. I'm going to store it to x. If you have a TI-84 at home, play along. 10 plus 3, I see a set of parentheses. 12 divided by, and I'm going to put in their parentheses too, 3x. Close, close, just as it was written. And it's 16. 4, even though, I mean, here's the truth. This shouldn't be in a calculator, but whatever. I know that 6 minus 4 is 2, and I'm taking away the absolute value of 3 minus 8, which is negative 5. So this becomes 2 minus 5, because absolute value is going to take a negative and think about its distance to 0 and make it positive. And it's negative 3. It's going to take me a lot longer to do that in a calculator. Maybe you don't realize that's there, but if you go to Math and scroll to Num, you'll see ABS, absolute value. And let's just pretend you don't know what 6 minus 4 is. I don't know you. Minus, Math, Num, ABS, 3 minus 8, enter. Oh, I was right. Good. You never know with me. All right, the expression 4c minus 3d times 3c plus d is equivalent to, this is what we call the double distributive property. It's not a hard question. We're going to think about 4c times 3c plus 4c times d plus a negative 3d times 3c plus a negative 3d times d. And then we're just going to do, like terms here. There's a 12c to the second. There's plus 4cd minus 9cd or dc, whatever you want. They're the same thing. And then minus 3d to the second. So I'm looking for positive 12 and a negative 3. It's going to be either A or what? C. 4 minus 9 is C. Now, this is going to take a minute to do, but remember, I am an algebra teacher. And I would say, based on what I've seen in West Tennessee, roughly 15% of the U.S. population cannot do the double distributive property. Now, here's the issue. Unless you get your crap together, you're not going to graduate from college. And I'm not saying you won't. I'm saying unless you get your crap together. That's what I'm saying. But to try to get you into college, here's something we can do. I'm using a TI-84. I'm going to hit this storage feature. I'm just going to make up a number like 5. I'm going to store it to C. And I can get to C by hitting alpha, there she is, program. I'll make up another number like 8. I'm never going to use 0 or 1. And I'm going to store it to D. So I'm going to hit alpha matrix or inverse. And then I'm going to type in the original thing for alpha C. And this is time consuming. But whatever, alpha D. I know a kid who knows the double distributive property could do this without what I'm doing, but alpha D. Close parentheses. And the calculator returned a negative 92. So I don't have time to run through all these choices, but what I can do is I can type these answer choices in and see if they're equivalent. And I'm just going to type in the one that I believe is right. There we go. Numerical equivalency. All right, number 6. Of the 180 students in a college course, 1/4 of the students earn an A. So I guess what we'll do is we'll figure out some calculations. The A's, we have 180 times 1/4. And again, I'm just presume I don't understand mathematics. That's fine. Good, it's 45. That's what I thought. So there's 45 A's. A third earned a B. And again, if you don't know what push buttons, there's 60 B's. And the rest earned C's. So A and B's is going to be 45 plus 60, which is 105 total. And the rest of the kids earned a C, so the C's have to be the 180 students you had minus 105, which is 75. I just can't believe nobody failed. That's amazing. That's also a lie. Anyways, there's 6. The number of fish, F, in Skipper's Pond at the beginning of each year can be modeled by the equation 3 times 2 to the x, where x represents the number of years after the beginning of the year 2000. For example, 0 is the year 2000, 1 is 2001, and so forth. How many fish were in Skipper's Pond in the beginning of year 2006? So if you'll focus on the text, 2001 is 1, 6. That's what I'm looking for. So I know that x is 6, and I'm just going to simply plug a 6 in. I'm going to find f of 6. Don't let f notation screw you up. We have exponential growth, Skipper's Pond. Would actually be a logistics model, but, you know, whatever. For a while, it does grow exponentially. And I'm just going to type in 3 times 2 to the 6, pretending I don't know what 2 to the 6 is. 192 fish. B. Manish drove from Chicago to Baton Rouge. At 8 a.m., he was 510 kilometers from Baton Rouge. At 1 p.m., he was 105 kilometers from Baton Rouge. Which of the following values is closest to Manish's average speed in kilometers per hour from 8 to 1? So let's see how far he traveled. So the distance traveled, I'm surprised they used kilometers. I mean, this is America. Distance traveled is going to be, what, 510 minus 105. You know, push the buttons if you got to. 405 kilometers. The time it took was 8 to 1, which is 5 hours. That's what it took, 8 hours. So speed or rate is pretty simple. It's the distance over the time. So it's got to be 405 over 5. And you know, whatever, you're going to push buttons on that, but it's going to be 81. And that is kilometers, not miles per hour. He's not traveling 81 miles per hour. He's actually moving fairly slow. 81 kilometers is not much, not compared to our miles per hour. Number 9, geometry. In the figure shown below, points E and G lie on line segment AC. Points D and F lie on segment AB. DE and FG are parallel to BC, and the given lengths are in feet. What is the length of A to C in feet? They want this. What that means is I have to know this guy, and I have to know this guy. I should be able to do this using proportional reasoning. 8 should compare to 7 as 16 compares to the unknown. I don't know why I wouldn't be able to do that. I'm actually not sure if I can do it that way. We'll try it. It's been a while since I've done a question like this. We'll see how it works out. I may do this one wrong. I don't know if I need to make this more complex and do a triangle. Actually, that's what I'll do. I don't need both these pieces. I just need this one big piece. I'll call it X. All right. You see this little triangle right here? I'm not drawing mine to scale, but it's got a 16 there and it's got an 8 here. And then I'm going to take the entire triangle, the entire thing. And if I put these numbers together along the side, I'll get 21, I believe. You see it? I'll get 21. 7, 6 is 13, and 8, 21. And it's going to compare to 16 plus X. Now, my gut says that this is going to be 42. That's what my gut says. My gut says this has got to be 42. And that's a gut feeling. And I'm pretty sure it's right. Because I'm looking at 8 to 16. But anyways, let's check this out. This 8 has to compare to 21, as this 16 has to compare to 16 plus X. And I'm not going to do anything stupid like divide out the 16. I'm just setting up proportional sides, doing proportions. I'll cross multiply. Actually, I could reduce to make my job a lot easier. 1, 2. Now I'll cross multiply. 16 plus X has to equal 2 times 21. So 16 plus X has to equal 42. And X is going to be 42 minus 16, which is what, 24? No, 28, 26. So yeah, I was right, because if this is 26, 26 and 16 makes 42. But I could have been done a minute ago just going with my gut. Could have been. But there's some geometry too. That's what you did in geometry. Katerina runs 15 miles in 2.5 hours. What is the average number of minutes it takes her to run 1 mile? Well, this shouldn't be too hard. We'll just do unit conversion. 1 hour is 60 minutes. So 15 miles in 2.5 times 60. That would be the setup. That would give me how fast she runs per minute, actually. There might be an easier way of doing this. I might be making it more complex. 15 divided by 2.5 times 60. So here we go. She's actually doing pretty good. This is miles per minute. She is running 1/10 of a mile per minute. So therefore it takes her 10 minutes. Pretty cool. A bag contains 8 red marbles, 9 yellow marbles, and 7 green marbles. So in this bag, if I put these numbers together, we've got 17, 24 total marbles. How many additional red marbles must be added to the 24 marbles already in the bag? So the probability of randomly drawing a red marble is 3/5. Currently there's 8. And I want to add some stuff to the top and the bottom so that I end up with something that reduces down to 3/5. That's kind of what I'm thinking here. So if I added 11, I'd have 35 and I'd have 19. And that's not 3/5. So no. If I added 16, 16 and 8 makes 24, and that'd be 40. This is looking pretty good. It is. 24 over 40 is going to be what, 12 over 20? Or both divisible by 4, 6 over 10. There you go, that's it. No algebra, just plug in some numbers, check it. In the standard XY coordinate plane, point 21 is the midpoint of CD. Point C has the coordinates 6, 8. What are the coordinates of point D? I'm sure there's a really good distractor in this thing, but this is C to D, line segment CD, and the midpoint's in the middle. Point C is at 6, 8. Let's see here, the midpoint's at 2, 1. And what is this guy? So if I move from left to right, I lose 4, and I would expect that pattern to continue happening. 2 minus 4 is -2. And I would lose 7, and I'd lose 7 again. 1 minus 7 is -6. Correct answer is G. At his job, the first 40 hours of each week that Thomas works is regular overtime, and any additional time that he works is overtime. He gets 15 per hour during regular time, so there's his wages. Regular time is 15. He gets 1.5 times as much for overtime, so overtime is 15 times 1.5, which is going to be $22.50. Thomas works 46 hours in 1 week and gets $117 in deductions taken out of his pay for the week. After the deductions are taken out, how much of Thomas's pay for this week remains? So he's got 40 hours at 15. He's got 6 hours at $22.50. And then we're going to have to take away $117. And that's going to be it. And I just don't want to switch over to a calculator. Maybe I should. But anyways, this is 600. What's that going to be? 132, 135. Yeah, 132. That's 135. And the difference here is 18. So 618. Choice D. By all means, you can push buttons. I don't care. It just was quicker for me to do it by hand. That's part of it. You know, I sat there and did it by hand because it's quicker for me to do it by hand and it's a time test. At Sweet Stuff Fresh Produce, the price of a bag of grapes depends on the total number of bags purchased at one time, as shown in the table below. In 2 trips to Sweet Stuff this week, Janelle purchased 3 bags of grapes on Monday and 4 bags of grapes on Wednesday. How much money would Janelle have saved if she had instead purchased 7 bags of grapes in 1 trip on Monday? So if she buys 3 bags, if she had that trip where she had 3 bags, 3 times 3 is 9. And then she had a trip where she bought 4 bags, which is a different column here. 4 times 280. 8 is 1120. So her total cost is going to be 1120 and 9, which should be 2020. Now, if she had just bought 7 bags, that's 7 times 260, which is $18.20, I think. Seems legit. 7 times 2 is 14, 420, yeah. So look at the difference. It's $2. You know, part of me on number 15 would love to teach you how I remember being taught with numbers, but why? Why? You have a calculator. The big thing is that 3% is 0.03 as a decimal. Now, if you live in some other part of the country and you're watching this video, I can tell you one thing, that 20% of the juniors at DHS cannot convert a percentage into a decimal. 20% of my students cannot convert a percentage into a decimal. Wow. So you missed this question. And again, I'm not even going to show you how to do it old school. I'm just going to push some buttons, man. That's all I'm doing. The answer is going to be A, by the way. I figured that out about a minute ago while I was writing out what juniors couldn't do. 1,242. You know, don't miss that one, obviously. By the way, I cleared out my screen and I didn't mean to. That one up there was $2. $2. Was the value of x that satisfies this equation? I'm going to do a little thing called y1, y2. y1, y2. That's what I'm going to do. It'd be quicker to do it by hand, but again, I didn't say I was necessarily going to use algebra as I did this thing. So we have a -3. Now, the truth is, the kids who do well on the ACT are not going to be pulling up y1, y2. I mean, that's a algebra 1 question. That's not a difficult question to answer. And then I'm going to hit zoom, and I'm going to hit 6. The answer is somewhere down here. You can see that they're intersecting. So let's look down a little bit. Let's change our y min to like -50. Maybe that'll see it. Go with graph. That'd have been done by now if I'd have done this by hand. Now, by the way, I know I can't be any of these choices because x is positive down here, and I still ain't seen it at 50. So let's go to -100. It's probably going to be based on what I'm seeing on the calculator, this one. Because it's obviously not the decimal, but whatever. Give me a minute. Just give me a minute. Anyways, second, trace, 5. Enter, enter, enter. 6.5. And I got interrupted, so let me pause this. All right, back to it. In right triangle, ABC shown below, the given lengths are in millimeters. What is sine of A? You know, when I was a kid, we were taught this little anagram, I guess is what you call it. English was never my strong point. Wasn't bad, it just wasn't my strong point. Anyways, I was taught some old horse caught another horse taking oats away. And what that told me that sine, that's what the S is for, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. I kind of wonder if I shouldn't be teaching that little anagram. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, is CAH, and tangent is opposite over adjacent. Of course, when I was teaching geometry, I taught SOHCAHTOA, which I think most teachers in the United States teach is SOHCAHTOA. But I wonder if an anagram makes sense, especially if you let students create their own funny ones, because they can come up with some really explicit and inappropriate stuff. But anyways, I am looking at angle A, and I want to know the opposite over hypotenuse. 7 is going to be opposite. 9 is going to be the hypotenuse. So it's got to be 7 over 9. It's choice D. Done. 18. It'd be cool if you actually knew what this was, but you don't. I actually want to explain this one by hand because so many kids don't understand exponents. The negative symbol flips the fraction. And then let's think about what we have now. We have the 2/3 power. What we're doing is we're taking the cubic root of each number and then we're going to square the result. So this is the root. That's your root. Now the cubic root of 64 is 4. Cubic root of 27 is 3. And we still have to square. 4 squared is 16. 3 squared is 9. So 16 ninths. Now, that being said, you have a calculator. If I was 17 years old taking the ACT, I would not default to my knowledge of exponents. I wouldn't. I would sit here and I would push the buttons. That's exactly what I would do. And I got that decimal. I hit math, answer frac, 16 ninths. Lodo? Blotto? I don't know. Begins at his back door and walks 8 yards east, 6 yards north, 12 yards east, 5 yards north to the barn door. About how many yards less would he walk if he could walk directly from the back door to the barn door? And so let's just put this on the old XY axis here. This is where he starts, the origin. He walks 8 yards east. Then he walks 6 yards north, 12 yards east, and then he walks 5 yards north. So he did quite a bit of walking here. He did 26:31. He walked 31 yards. Now let's just think about what actually happened here. He walked 20 total yards east. That was supposed to be a different color. Eight and 12 makes 20. He walked 20 yards east. You put the 6 and the 5 together, he walked 11 north. And it says, what if he just walked straight to the barn instead of being some little ADHD kid who like saw a chicken and had to go pet it? You know, what if he just made a straight path? So what if he'd have known about Pythagorean theorem, right? What if he'd have known about a squared plus b squared equals c squared? So we got a 20, we have an 11. We have 400 and 121. We have 521 being c squared. The opposite of squaring is square rooting. And it is an about question. Like, I don't think they actually expect you to know what's going on here, but I don't know. That's probably around like what, 22, 23. I'm pretty tired this morning. My usual memory's not working. So anyways, root 521 is about 23. Okay, that's what I was saying. So the straight path is going to be 23 yards. 31 minus 23 is going to be 8. There you go. For a given set of data, the standard z-score z corresponding to the raw score x is given by z as x minus the mean sitting over sigma, the standard deviation, where mu is the mean of the set and sigma is the standard deviation. If for a set of scores, mu is 78, sigma is 6, which of the following is the raw score x corresponding to z-score 2? So what we're going to do is we're just going to plug everything in to that. Z is 2. It must equal x, which is unknown, minus 78, sitting over 6. And you know what? Y1, Y2. Why not? Even though it's going to take longer, why not? If you're taking the ACT in the United States of America, odds are extremely good that you are holding a TI-84. Now, I'm going to have to look to the right because look at these X values. They're pretty high. So I'm going to take my window. I'm going to go out to 100 on the X-axis. Now, solutions happen when graphs intersect. I should start seeing this rational function show up. Oh, actually, I don't know why I called it rational. It's a line. It's linear. Second trace, 5, enter, enter, enter. The intersection's at 90. And there's at least 2 other ways of doing that problem. 21, in the figure below, A, B, C. Actually, I'm going to stop this video here. 20 questions is quite a bit for one video.